Hey everyone, welcome to another Mastering Encompass Live event. My name is Larry Bailey with Mortgage Workflow Partners. Let's go ahead and get some people admitted to join us. Thank you everyone for coming. Always appreciated when you spend your time hanging out with me and talking about Encompass stuff. Just for those that are new to this, we meet every Tuesday and Thursday, different times for different time zones. Tuesdays at 4 o'clock Eastern and Thursdays at 1 o'clock Eastern. And we do post the replays. We are changing how we're posting these replays out. I want to drive more people, honestly, to the community. So we're going to be posting more and more of these replays exclusively on the community, or perhaps in our LinkedIn spots also. But I think we're going to pull back on doing some live streaming on YouTube and live streaming on Facebook or Twitter if you were following there. So if you're not following us, feel free. In the meantime, today's topics that I really want to talk about are Consumer Connect. If you got the note, basically why I believe Consumer Connect's the best value for the money, how you can leverage it for multiple types of loans and campaigns for your business, and then also why I think it needs to be a long-term plan, part of your plan if you're using Encompass. But these meetings, Tuesdays and Thursdays, are about your questions first. So I always like to go to the community, to the folks that have come. You can take yourself off mute if you want. You can type away any questions if you want, or you can sit there and just gaze at the amazement of Encompass. I'm kidding, of course. So anybody who's come today have any questions that they want to talk about or bring up, it can be on any topic. Does not have to be about Consumer Connect. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them. If not, it's okay. It's totally fine. So I'm going to get right into, my vibe on Consumer Connect. Again, for those that don't know me very well, I started using Encompass before it was Encompass. And when Encompass first rolled out its websites, I exploited the crap out of them. This is back when the websites were really not cheap. This is going back to 2006. 2005, maybe even. And Ellie Mae at the time rolled out this thing called Consumer Connect, and they gave you the web pages and they gave you these sites that you can build, and you created pages and links and apply now links, and it was super, super cool. I know more than a few people who built up entire businesses on giving websites away to realtors, loan officers, and I'm like, dude, if you use Encompass, it's like right there. And so what happened was, things didn't really get R&D'd up very strong compared against what you can do with regular websites out there in the marketplace. And ultimately, Ellie Mae rolled into this new platform called the Connect platform, right? So you've got things happening with Consumer Connect, TPO Connect, Loan Connect, et cetera. So I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. And what we're dealing with now really is from a retail perspective, what you're really focusing in on is making sure that you're deciding how you want your borrowers to interact with your loan production and how you want your, what you want that experience to be. And so a lot of folks over the years who have been with Encompass over the years, I got a little bit tired of the experience, or were concerned about the experience with Consumer Connect. And for a lot of folks, it was justified to be concerned. It wasn't really lining up with their workflow. The technology wasn't lining up with what they wanted. And so they looked to other players, a lot of which were like SimpleNexus, because people started feeling websites weren't just websites. They were really point of sale, right? It was all about Rocket Mortgage coming out with their fancy technology, which is nothing more than a web capture form. But then you had players like SimpleNexus or Blend, and I'm sure there's a billion others that I'm not naming, but those are just the two that always come to mind. Those are the two I'm usually dealing with right now at Mortgage Workflow Partners in terms of support and working things out in the workflow. And so the challenge with anything that's outside of Encompass is outside of Encompass. And one of the things that I still feel that it's the best value for your money is you can come into any Encompass, and unless you've got something really, really unique, everybody's got Consumer Connect portal. Now you might not be using it, right? So the idea is if you come in here and you log in, you might not have a site. Totally fine. But the reality is, kind of flipping down to my third point, why it needs to be part of your long-term plan is because if you're dealing with borrowers with documents, which every borrower has, if you're dealing down the road with hybrid e-close, which most companies have it somewhere on their roadmap to do that with, or certainly fully close, your best value is still going to be Encompass using Consumer Connect because everything's tied in there. So again, I'll pick on SimpleNexus because they're the easiest to pick on, and they're not here to defend themselves, so why not? But SimpleNexus has a great front end POS, and I don't know what the costs are, but I know it's becoming more of a conversation with costs. But what you don't get with SimpleNexus in this example, as far as I'm told, and if I'm wrong, please SimpleNexus reach out to me and we'll get on the record of correcting this. But you have to pay for it on the back end too. So if I want to do an e-close through SimpleNexus, I've got to pay for that loan twice. Not cool in my fictitious mortgage company that doesn't exist. But for my clients that I advocate for, it's not cool. And so that's why I'm really pressing the gas on helping people understand what Consumer Connect is today, how Mortgage Workflow Partners has helped companies leverage Consumer Connect, answer any questions, and talk about the two different kinds of ways that you can leverage Consumer Connect with an application. One is the website, which is not the best way, in my opinion. The second way is with widgets, which is the best way, in my opinion. So before I go on, anyone have any comments, questions? And I'll kind of go into website versus widget, because that still is very confusing for folks who don't do it. All right, if you have any questions, take yourself off mute. If not, or chat. If not, I'll just keep on trucking. When you come into Website Builder, you have two options here. You can build a new website, which effectively takes you into this opportunity to create your custom domain, which hasn't been taken by anybody else, with a whatever.mymortgage-online.com. You fill that in, you create your website. And when you go in and do that, what you'll be brought to is this editor that forces you to pick a template that you can't ever change again. And then you can design your pages. You can go back and design your themes and colors and all that stuff. And a widget here is not to be confused with a widget site. But a widget here basically means that you can insert things within the site. So these are called widgets. You get your social media, you got some messaging that you can go back and forth between the LO and the borrower. It's not as fancy as you might think, not yet at least. Get some SEO stuff you can do. And then you can preview it and then you can publish it. It's a web page. Here's where a lot of companies fall down on this. They leverage this as their web page for their business, to which I would genuinely say, bad idea. I can tell you that I am no stretch of the imagination a web developer person. But the important part here is that you can go grab a domain if you don't already have one. Hopefully you do if you're in business. And you can go to Wix, or you can go to Squarespace, or you can go to a lot of other, what you see is what you get web designers, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get designers, and build a site. And then you can take what you really want, which is this application. And I'll use what I've done before in demonstrations. Westfieldbank.com is a client of ours, and we helped them convert all of their applications into widgets through Consumer Connect. So the one I like to point out, of course, is consumer loans, because we help take, if you're dealing with a bank or credit union, we can help you get your consumer loans into Encompass. So you have one place. But right now, this is coming in. What you're seeing here is a widget. So it's not an iframe, not to be confused with an iframe. it's a widget. And what this is doing is spinning up a workflow that does not give your consumer any visibility of what your client ID is. Yes, it does give a user ID here, but it doesn't give the whole client ID, which is what you'll see if you go to a Consumer Connect site hosted by ICE. And this whole experience can be defined right here. This workflow can be defined into either when the user logs in, it creates a new application for them to begin, or the user logs in and they just go to their loan portal. So this is going to create a new application. And when they log in, if they go into their online mortgage center, it looks very familiar, but this URL up in here is distinctly different from where we just were a moment ago. And this is where they just log in and they're able to view their existing loan files or prior loan files. So how we get to widgets is when we go back to Website Builder, we click this, I totally forgot the name of this, but it's a vertical ellipse and it's got a different name. Jesse, correct me if you know what it is, because I know you would know. Anyway, the thing that this is, the 3 dots vertical, add borrower widgets to your site. This is where you're going to do, whether it's a subdomain or your actual domain, there's a certain way to set this up to do it properly so that you can emulate what we did at Westfield Bank and what I've done for other clients, making sure that when the borrower goes to your page, there's a name, thanks Jesse for being honest. There's a name for that vertical ellipse, and it's not a normal name, it's something else used. Anyway, somebody watching this, please remind me what that thing is. My point is that this gives you the ability to create this kind of an experience, which is what I really want every company who's using Consumer Connect to do. You really want every company using widgets because it keeps your borrowers on domain. It keeps your privacy policies and everything else that you do with branding surrounding your borrower experience, which is really what I want. So that's the big deal on, how to build it, the differences between a standard Consumer Connect website, which is okay, but kebab, thanks, Brian. Kebab, it's called a friggin' kebab. That stupid thing right there, kebab. I don't know why I can't remember that. Anyway, website, which is okay, but I generally would prefer everybody to do like 3 pieces of meat. I guess I'll never forget that now. It's like a kebab. Anyway, widgets versus websites. That's my vibe. And when you do create it, same thing like you do with a website. You create your LAR, select your folder and create my widget, and it gives you code. And there's 2 kinds of code that you can deal with in there. One is for logging in, one is for applications. And it's all based upon workflow, just like everything else. So everything in Consumer Connect works like normal, except it lets you keep your website with your bar experience within your own website. That's the deal on that. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Anybody want me to go over anything like that again? No? Okay. So how are we dealing with multiple loan types and campaigns? The thing about this is, again, when you're dealing with, and I use Westfield because it's a great example in real life of, we created workflows specifically for residential, for home equity loans, for home equity lines of credit, consumer loans, personal lines of credit. We didn't do credit cards because that's a whole different platform, but basically these 5 different kinds of loan types were all configured into different workflows. Goodbye. All within different workflows, all within the same widget. So just like you have different workflows, perhaps for your different Consumer Connect sites, you also can have as many workflows as you need to for all these widgets. And this is, again, where it's very helpful if you've got a front-end web person, so they can get the right code in the right place. But effectively, it's very simple to come in as an Encompass admin, or even a Consumer Connect admin, if that's your role, to create the workflows that you need within the widget, right? Not the site up here, but the widget that is being managed. And then basically all of these different, I'll use mortgages. all of these different kinds of here. So if I wanted to have different workflows for all these different kinds, it's super simple for your web development person to punch in the code that sits behind this to load up the JavaScript on the page that it lands. It's very, very straightforward. I know if you feel like this is really complicated, it's only because you haven't done it. If you do it or have access to a person who knows how to do it, it's way cleaner than creating all different kinds of loan officer pages or branch pages within the Consumer Connect site. So that's really the telltale, that's really the cheat, so to speak, is when you have your widget set up, you can keep spinning up workflows for whatever you want, specific branches or specific users or specific whatever, so that when you get to the website, their apply now link takes them to that specific workflow. And that's the big, that's the big takeaway for me when I'm working with clients and I go over to their websites for the applications. Right now, if you're using a third party, you can't really get different workflows. So case in point, work with a really large construction and perm lender, and they need different applications for different builders in different locations of builders because the questions get different. Some builders own the land, some builders don't, just as one small example. So to be able to develop an unlimited number of workflows for each of those to make sure that it points to the correct place, so that when that loan comes in, it's tagged to the right LAR and it goes into the right template into Encompass. Super special, super special. So if you have any questions on that, or you want to explore that more, not really sure what the hell I'm talking about, let me know. I'd be glad to help you out. Some of the other things that happen in Consumer Connect that are not extraordinarily popular, but they're becoming more popular, is the ability to do the VOA, verification of income or employment, or verification of assets. I don't know very many companies that are actually having borrowers order their own credit and running through pricing. But if you're trying to do a completely lights out application for some special circumstance, you can. You would just come into these settings, identify the provider, ethnicity or the work number, update your information, and then enable that for your workflow. In product and pricing, OB and EPPS are supported in there. For AUS, obviously DU or LPA. So there's no DO in there. So if you're a DO shop, that's something. Last thing I'll bring up here is homeowners. This is in your admin tools. It's been out for a little bit. So if you disable it in your admin tools, it's not necessary to come in here, but I typically come in here and again, you're going to only see Geico there. So if it's in there, just as a reminder that in the workflows, when you come over into edit these workflows, if you want to address the insurance under, I'm going to forget where this is, services settings, credit authorization, insurance is different. I always forget where the hell that insurance is. Bear with me. But basically, you'll want to explore all of these features as you go through each of the workflow, and make sure that you disable the insurance. And of course, I can't find it when I want to, so that's what I get for not remembering. But effectively, you want to make sure that insurance is turned off. I've seen a bunch of people not realize that their borrowers were getting Geico in their face on an application. So just make sure that you address that appropriately in your workflow. Other than that, really, I didn't have anything else to talk about as far as Consumer Connect is concerned. Did anyone have any questions or situations that you were working with on Consumer Connect? Or again, like I said, anything else that's happening in your environment that you wanted to explore? Okay. Last thing I'll bring up then is in the community. I kind of teased out to the community that there are changes coming. So one of the things that I've been doing is consolidating these spaces into being more intuitive and easier to find. So if you're looking for any events, they're always in the all events up in here. All of our Tuesday, Thursday dates are here. If you're trying to find more information about Encompass, if that's your thing, under the Mastering Encompass collection, you'll see we've got some of the courses that are out. We've rolled out some updates. We're continuing to push those out. Most of the information that everybody's really engaged in is in the general Encompass conversations. It's where we post most everything. But we did add one with current issues. So if you are having issues, feel free to post into there. And also renovation lending. That's a new one that was brought up. If you have any questions about renovation lending, I've got extensive experience, personal as well as professional, on the renovations for both Fannie and Freddie and the FHA rehab products. So if that's helpful. I am adding in additional resources. These are going to be premium access for folks. We're going to add in important documents and then input form builder resources. Input form builder, specifically example input forms that Mortgage Workflow Partners uses across the board for most clients, and then also code snips for standard input form builder. And then as we develop out the Encompass on the web code snips, that's where we're going to put them into that library as well to be shared out to those folks that want to subscribe to it. And I always encourage you, if you ever wanted to invite anybody else to the community, you can always click your face up in here. Sorry, wrong spot. This little icon here, and you can invite, and you'll get a copy link to invite anybody else into the community. Always looking to get word out to the community to have people join and keep the conversations going. And I will keep bringing information to the community as I have it. So with that, I don't see any other notes. A little bit, Kayla, Jolene, Jesse, Brian, and Carl, thanks very much for coming today, as always. And if you have any questions I can answer, please let me know. Thanks, gang.
Thanks, Larry.
You got it.